Right, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is my houseplant tour of, well, January 2025. I just want to document all the plants I've got right now, what they look like, how well they're doing. All of them are doing pretty well right now, actually, apart from maybe one. But it would be really cool to show you guys the updates on the houseplants because there are some updates. There's a lot that have changed, a lot that have grown, a lot that are gone. So yeah, I thought I'd give you a bit of a tour. I'm going to be doing it in a way that I bring the plant to the camera rather than walking around with the camera. I hope you guys don't mind, but I'll get straight onto it because it's a pretty long video. I hope you guys enjoy. Right, so this is the spare room, and I have more plants than I realised I had in here. I've just gathered them all together in front of me so that I don't have to keep jumping around to grab them. Although I've got one larger plant over there, which I'll do last. But the plants that I've had in here, the plants I've got in here, I've had them in here for maybe coming up to a year, give or take. I'll start with this one. This is actually one of my favorite. Well, I really like this variety of Zami. This is a Zenzi. So Zamioculcas, Zamiifolia, Zenzi. The variety is Zenzi, and this is just the really how do you call it? The compact variety. It's very dusty, but it's the really compact one where the foliage is really close together and it doesn't get very tall. This is just in its nursery pot. I've not changed it out of its nursery pot, and it hasn't. Oh, I was about to say it hasn't actively grown, but there is a new frond coming up here. So yeah, this is one of the darkest rooms in the house. This is the darkest room in the house. So that's why I wanted the Zami in here. Um, but yeah, I'm glad it's growing. I was tempted to put this, or I am currently considering putting this in the living room to get some more light to it so that it puts on some growth. But I have just set up my grow light area in this room, and the Zami is pretty nearly it's like 2 foot away from the grow light. So that solved that problem, and I think this is probably going to put on quite a bit of new growth now. But I'm really happy with that. No decline. It's just had one of the baby leaves there. It looks like it's died off. Yeah, I've just pulled that out. So I'll just chuck that in the bin. But that is one of my plants. This is a pretty new plant. I've only had this for, don't know, since like last summer. So 6 months, less than 6 months. And I'm really happy with it. I want to get more because I want one in the living room as well. I think I've made that decision in my head. And yeah, so if you don't have one of these, I would definitely recommend it. Just really love it. You don't see them very often in the garden centres either. Yeah, like barely ever. You'll see it every now and again, but very rarely. But I'm pretty sure it's quite available online. Right, next up is this little guy, which you guys might be familiar with. Well, you've seen it before. This is a gymno. I don't know the actual name. Let me try and get it out without injuring myself. Because I'm pretty sure the name is on the pot. It's a gymnocal Fredericii. I think that gymnocal name is that's a shortened version of the name. But this little guy, I've had it for a really long time, like maybe 2 years, and he's in a pretty low light window. So he doesn't grow massively, but he just kind of shrinks. Like at the moment, he's a bit shrunk. I'll give it a good water. He'll plump right back up, and then I won't water it for another 3 months. And I just think he looks so good in that pot. Like he looks kind of camouflaged in the pot, which I really like. So that is him. I really love that pot, but yeah, not too much to say about him. I think if I put him in more like sun, he would definitely flower regularly, annually. But yeah, he always does really well. He's like one of my little staple plants. Anything that I've had for more than like a year or 2 years is one of my staple plants. So just really nice easy plant. The next one is one that I bought on a whim because a plant shop was closing down, So they were selling off the plants pretty cheap. And I picked up this thinking I'd always wanted one, but I'd never really allowed myself to get one, or I didn't get one because I thought, no, I'm probably going to mess up the watering, or not have the space for it, etc. But it is a staghorn fern, and this has at least doubled in size since I got it. It's still in its nursery pot. I've not transplanted it, but you see the brown pads. This is like, I don't know the technical names for these, but this big pad has grown since I had it, and then it kind of browns off, and now it's growing a new little pad there. And I'll try and get a closer up image of that, but they just look so, I don't know, really satisfying. There's another one growing out the back. You can just see it there, but they're just such a fascinating plant. It's super easy care for me anyway. I know a lot of I've seen videos of people that keep these like hardcore, and they like dunk them, fertilize them, water them. All I do is bottom water this one, and it seems to do really fine. It doesn't get any direct sun, although actually no, in the summer it does, in this back window. In the winter, it doesn't get any direct sun, unless it does. No, I don't think it does. But it does pretty well. Well, it does really well. It's dry right now, like fully dry, so I'll definitely give that a water. But I was going to try and mount it on a bit of wood and kind of get fancy with it, but it's doing really well right now, so I'm not going to change that. The only thing I might change is the pot, but I probably wouldn't change the pot. I'd just put it into a nursery, into a ornamental pot, still in its nursery pot. But it's doing really well. I'm really happy with that. Really happy with that, because I was not expecting it to last. I think I paid like £2.50 for this one as well. Right, this next plant is one that it's not very common in my part of England anyway. Very rarely seen it in garden centres, and when I did see it in the garden centre, I purchased it. This was about, I think this was maybe either £10 or £12. I think it was, no, was it more? Up to £16, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have paid 16 quid. Although I don't know, maybe I did. It was over £10. This is a chlorophytum. The name of this one on the pot was green orange, which I don't think is its technical variety name. But when I first saw this, I didn't think it was a chlorophytum. I don't know what I thought it was. I didn't really think too much about it, because I remember the first time I saw these, I thought they were the ugliest things ever. But then I kind of, when you kind of start thinking about something and then you just end up liking it. That's kind of what happened with this chlorophytum. You just wouldn't look at that and think that that's a spider plant. So this hasn't grown in the same way that the other chlorophytums do, for me anyway, where they grow runners. This hasn't set out any runners at all, and I've had this for maybe a year and a half. Look at that, that looks amazing though. And this does get quite a bit of direct light, like well, it's in the same window as the staghorn fern. In the summer it gets a lot of direct light, like pretty hot sun, and then in the winter it gets like no sun. Not that that's super relevant information, but it did, that was the reason I was saying it. It did have some leaves that were kind of bleaching, like there. I don't know if it was bleaching, but like they were kind of looking like they were getting stressed by the sun or external factors. But it's actually doing really well. It's looking a lot better than it did a few weeks ago. What was I saying? I don't know. The reason I bought it, or the reason it's in this room, is because it's got orange stems, and our color scheme in here, as you can see here, is like nasty orange and green. That orange just goes really nicely with that green, in my opinion. Anyway, that's why I got this chlorophytum. And I'm really happy with it. It's performed really well. I've just had it in its nursery pot still, haven't even transplanted it. It's got roots coming out the bottom, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy really. I'm probably not going to put it up for a long time, for another year. I do sometimes fertilize my plants. I fertilize them maybe once a month ish. So that looks really good. I'm pretty happy with that. Anyway, and this lovely pot that my brother and his fiance got me last Christmas. And yeah, really nice. Really happy with that one. Right, I've got one other plant in here, and I'm going to have to move the camera to show you it. Well, it's actually 3 plants in one pot, but let me try and figure out if I can pull it over. Right, this is a relatively large pot. I don't know what size it is. And this is in it has its own stand, so I'm just taking it out of the stand. It's got some Epipremnum, the gold variety, lime. I don't know the variety name. It's the lime variety. And then I have let me just check that it's not dirty on the bottom. No, it's clear. A Dipsis palm, also Erica palm. This I was really expecting to fail. This has been in here for well over a year. And I was really expecting it to fail. One, because the lighting in here is pretty low. This is like the least used room in our house. And the light level is just really poor. So I was expecting it to fail quite quickly, actually. But I was just looking at it a minute ago, and it's got some new leaves come out. There's new fronds coming up. I don't know how we can see it, but that is brand new. There was 3 of them that I counted, and it's just doing really well. The only negative it has is that it's got some browning tips, which luckily hasn't declined any more than when it originally started to go brown. So I'm pretty happy with it. There is an aglo in there as well, which is, I believe, a greyhound. Agglonema at the back. You can't really see it very well, but there's an aglo here. I need to go through and do some tidying up. There's some yellowing leaves. I did put a fern in here to begin with. It weren't a rabbit's foot fern, but it was like, I don't know, it was like I want to say kangaroo foot fern that was in here, and that failed really quickly. So I've just left it. But I'll get a better view of this. But yeah, it's doing really well, and it's just in soil. Nothing fancy in there. Soil and perlite, and I do water this quite well. Yeah, I do water it pretty heavy. When I water it, I give it like a full. I say full can. It's like a pint glass sized can. I'll give it like a pint every. Actually, I don't know how often. It can be up to like 3 or 4 weeks between watering. But so far, I think I've done it pretty well. Oh, there's a little baby growing out of here. This little guy. I mean, it was probably already there, but he's growing some new leaves, which is really good because I work with plants a lot, and often the smaller, the smaller, younger plants around the sides, they often die off really easily, whereas these ones are actually growing. So that's quite nice. But yeah, this doesn't get any doesn't get any direct sunlight, so that's probably why these aren't dying off, because it's not really had an opportunity to get too dry. Which Erica palms really like moisture. They like, from my experience, they like more moisture than Kentias. So yeah, they do really well with quite a lot of moisture. So yeah, that is doing real. That is everything that's in this room. I do have my seedlings set up, but none of them have germinated yet. So I'll do a separate video on my seed starting and my propagation area. But yeah, that is spare room done. Right, next up is the bathroom, and this feels really weird filming in here, so I'm kind of keeping it very. Here's the radiator, that's all you're going to see in here. I'll bring the plants over. I've actually got a surprising amount of plants in here as well. I'll start with some of the smaller ones. So I have a small collection of tillandsias. In my bathroom, I had these two. This one here, I've had it in here for maybe 6 months, not massively long. And I don't know the exact variety names, but I've got a really long one. I've got a really short one. This one I bought at the same time as that one. And you can see with this one, I lay it down flat like that. It doesn't seem to enjoy it too much, but it hasn't declined much, other than like some of the leaves that are laying down have got like browned a bit. But with these, I don't do anything special. I haven't done much research into them at all, other than I just wet them every now and again. And then this one that I rescued from a skip is looking really healthy, really nice. And he just lays there like that. So that's my 3 tillandsias that are in the bathroom. And I've got some other plants. I have this little fern. He just sits right next to the toilet, um, and he does really well down there. So he gets no direct light. It's a really dark corner, and he's doing really well. He hasn't had any browning leaves. I've had this for maybe 6 months again. So lovely little fern, and he does really well. I have this other fern, which is the exact same variety. This is the Parvati. Um, this one I've had for a lot longer. I've had this for, pretty sure I had this in my old house. So 2.5 years maybe I've had this one. It's gone through a few rough patches with me, as you can see. He's got some unruly looking leaves. He's still got paint splotches on him from when we painted the bathroom. Um, yeah, but he's pretty hardy. I do underwater it sometimes, which is why he's kind of suffered. Um, but this one's doing really well. Happy with it. I'm gonna try. I'm making a bit of an effort to water it a bit more often so that it doesn't decline any further and it fills out nicer. Because then I know that I won't get rid of it. Whereas if it does continue to get dried out, my fault. But I'll probably get rid of it and change it for something else. But he's doing really well at the moment. Right. Next up, I've got my Scindapsus pictus. This is the Algerius Trebi. No, Trebi. Yeah, and this is actually the original one that I had in my bedroom back when I lived at home. So I've had this one for a fair few years. I've pruned it quite hard a few times, and he's super dusty, but he does really well, and he's nice, and he's just like a good standard plant that doesn't really do too much, but doesn't need any fuss, and really nice color. So that is him. Right, next up is this giant Spathiphyllum. I didn't grow it this big myself. I bought it. This hope the leaf didn't interfere with the mic. I bought it this size basically. I've only had this for a few months. I got it from IKEA. I think £10 I paid, and my top wish list plant at the moment is a Spathiphyllum sensation, which is the giant variety of Spathiphyllum. I'm not willing at the moment to spend 70 quid on a spath, so I got this one instead, which is nowhere near as big, but it gives quite the wow factor and it looks really good. And this was only £10. So, and he's reflowered. He's reflowered like 3 times since I've had him. I'm not too worried about the spath flowers. They don't really do much for me. But what it does tell me is that the plant's really happy. He's getting enough light. He's not flowering as a last resort to try and seed because he's super healthy. Sometimes people assume that their plant flowering is a really good sign. It isn't always. It is sometimes the plant's last resort to set seed before it dies. So just be cautious of that. But he's doing really well. He's in this pot. It does have a drainage hole. So what I normally do is take it out of the pot, sit it in the sink for a while, bottom water it, and then I'll put it back in his pot. He's in the nursery pot. But yeah, he's doing really well. And he's huge and heavy. Right. Next up, I've got this sad little plant. The common name is Watches Chains. I don't know if it's a sedum or a crassula. That's going to make me sound really not in the know. But he's not looking great. To be fair, we barely water it, and it gets really leggy because this really wants some nice direct sun, but he does not get that in this bathroom. Uh, this bathroom gets a little bit more light than the spare room, but less light than any other room. So not the ideal situation for him, but he's hanging in there a lot longer than I was expecting to. So yeah, he's doing all right. He's alive. He's green. And then the last plant in the bathroom is this Sansevieria. This is not mine. This is my partner's, but it's growing really well. Uh, this leaf is the newest. I won't say it's new because I don't feel like, well, to have that layer of dust on it, it can't be that new. But yeah, that does pretty well. Nice standard plant. Can't really go wrong with Sansevierias, and it looks good in its little trio because this is with the Pictus and the Parvati. They sit in a group, and it looks really good. So that is the last plant in here. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, including the Tillandsias. That name takes a while to come. So yeah, quite a few plants in here. Next, I'm going to move into the bedroom. Right, so I'm in the bedroom and I've got quite a few plants in here as well. It really doesn't look like a lot when you're in here, but well, to me it doesn't look like a lot. But when I count them, it does kind of seem like quite a few. So the first one I've got here is this Spathiphyllum. This, I don't know the variety, but this is one of the smaller varieties. It's actually just rested in, oh God, it's inside this pot. Let me take the pot out. It's in a small pot inside that pot. I've just rested it in there just because I don't want to transplant it into that big of a pot because it does really well in this tiny pot. I've had this for, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe. I don't know. I really can't remember. But he's grown quite a lot since I've had him. He's never declined too much. Still, as you can see, he's still got a lot of his really small leaves. Really happy with him. He survives really well in pretty low light. Well, I mean, he doesn't get any direct light. He doesn't get. I'd say he gets in the summer. The most he gets is like bright indirect light, which is probably all you really need for a spath anyway. But really happy with him. He's like doubled in size, and I really love the pot that he's in. I've had that pot for years, but he just looks really good, and he's really healthy. And I just give it. I mean, when it dries out, I'll probably fill the pot up with about that much water, which may seem like quite a lot, but spaths love that. And he's really rigid in there, doing really well. Really happy with him. I really love spaths. I don't know why. I never used to show them any interest, but now I really, really like them. I think it's because they're just really reliable as well. Like part of like keeping plants is like exploring, finding the really exotic varieties that are quite a challenge to keep, and that keeps the hobby really interesting and fun. But it's really nice to have that the really reliable plants that you know are just going to do really well, and they kind of keep your morale up whilst all your other really fussy plants suffer, and these guys keep you level. So speaking of another level plant, I have here the Sansevieria. This is the uh, moonshine. I'm really losing it with some of these names. No, it's just late and I'm tired. This is the Sansevieria moonshine. I've just repotted him about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, because one of the actual plants kind of fell out of the pot where it was just not planted properly, and it was entirely my fault because I just rushed and stuck him in this little pot. But I've taken a lot of the coir off and I've replanted it properly in a slightly better plant mix. Just more multi-purpose compost with perlite in there, so it's got that free draining. It's not going to stay damp. He's doing well. He's doing really well. Happy with him because he's over in this pretty dark corner. Doesn't get much light at all. On this bed here, we've just got this little cactus there as well. I would like it's not fake, but I would argue that this thing is fake. We never water it. Literally haven't, as far as I'm aware, has not been watered in like 4 years, and for some reason doesn't decline. Doing really well. Weird. And then what else do we have? Right, this one you guys would have seen quite a few times on my channel. I actually think I'm going to prune off those long tendrils because they're just kind of messy. But this is my Hoya pubicalis Hawaiian purple, and this is one of my solid favorite plants. I've had this for, I really don't know. I'd have to go and look back on my channel to see how long I've had this, but it feels like I've had it for maybe 4 years, five, maybe between 4 or 5 years, which is crazy to think about. Hopefully I'm wrong with that, but he's got huge. He's constantly growing pretty well. He's got a lot of tendrils. In the past, I've cut these off and rooted them, and then they grow a big flush of leaves. I probably won't do that again because I don't really need another one or want more, but it's just huge. And he's in a tall terracotta pot. I keep him in this little. This is actually a food container. I bought them in like bulk on eBay. When I say bulk, I mean I bought maybe 50 of them to use them as plant dishes because it's a lot cheaper than the plant dishes you get in garden center. But I keep him in that all the time just because every now and again I'll top water him a little bit, and I actually have him sitting on a pile of books. So I don't really know where I'm going with that story, but he's constantly in a water dish. I water this relatively often actually, and I think I do that because I know that when I water it well enough, he grows quite a lot, and I'm happy with that. So, don't know. Do you guys like Hoyas? I know some people go in and out of Hoyas, and there's a lot of people that are like massively obsessed with only Hoyas. I love Hoyas, but not to the point where I'm spending crazy money on them. Like this was £16 a long while ago, roughly 16 quid. I don't know, and that is just he's always kept me happy. It's very well. I was going to say he's a very like common variety, but the Hawaiian purple is not, as far as I'm aware, is not massively common in England anyway. I know, I'm sure in different countries it's probably quite popular. I can't really show you a good example of why it's called that, although that leaf's pretty black. The leaves come through like jet black. Yeah, that's looking really black. He did get trapped in a drawer, which is why this leaf is dying. But the leaves come through really black. They then fade to a little bit like purple, deep purple, and then they turn green. Yeah, you can. No, you can't really see the purple, but really, really happy with that plant. I don't know what I'm going to do if he gets any bigger because he's kind of getting a bit unruly. I don't want to prune it back hard, but I won't be afraid to. But I don't want to have to do that. But he is looking good, really good. Right, I've got these two little guys. This is, I don't know the name. I don't know the name of him. This little cactus. Frank, I don't think he's on YouTube. One of my planty friends sent me this as a cutting a long while ago, and it's grown really well. I'm keeping it in Houseplant, also known as Volcaponic, and he's only in that. So this was cuttings. I kept them out of soil for a really long time until they rooted, and then I planted them in this Volc, and it's not in any soil, so it's just those pebbles in there. He's doing really well. He flowered actually last summer. I think it was actually into autumn he flowered. So he's doing really well. And then I've got this asparagus fern here, which is doing really well. I was quite reluctant to have one of these, but because when they are sad, they drop all their leaves. And when they're too happy, they go crazy and produce tendrils covered in thorns. This one doesn't actually seem to have big thorns. This is more of a like smaller thorns on this one, but it's doing really well. I mean, it looks very green and healthy, and it brings a different texture to the collection. So that is why I like it. How long he's going to be in my collection, not determined yet. Depends on how he reacts to my different styles of maintenance based on where I am mentally. I'm joking, but hopefully I don't let it dry out. I've been pretty good at keeping on top of water in this one for that very reason. But let me know if you guys like these. I know there's different varieties. There's two varieties of these you can get. One's with the very feathery foliage. This one's with the more broad-leafed foliage. Both as bad as each other in terms of dropping foliage, but he's doing all right for now. So let's not talk it into existence. Right, next up, let me do this one first because it'll be quicker. Right, so this one is a relatively new plant in my collection. This is the Astrophytum variegata, and look at that variegation. I might try and get a better angle of this. I bought this at I went to a cactus and succulent show in autumn, potentially, and I bought this bare root there. It was £15 bare root, which is a pretty good price. Online, they're a bit more expensive than that, but I just absolutely love that plant. He's planted in a very, it's mostly perlite and Lacusapon with a very, very small amount, maybe 10% organic matter. The trick with Astrophytums is you really want as little organic matter in the soil as possible in the mix. I go for like 5 and 10, between 5 and 10%. I only have 2 astrophytums. I have to say they're doing very good though. But when I water it, basically what you don't want any water sitting around the roots after you've watered it. So you're going to give it a quick soak. Everything is going to run through, but the moisture is going to be held on to just the very small 10% of organic matter in there. And then the perlite and the leucosapon is going to quickly draw the moisture away from the roots, but also keep a bit of humidity in there for a short period of time, so that it just definitely does not stay damp for more than like 2 days. And that is what I do. And I water it. I've not watered it for maybe 2 months. Keeping it drier in the I'd say keeping it drier in the winter, but it's not that I'm keeping it dry in the winter because it's winter, because my other one is in a sunny window, and when we've got the heating on, it's pretty warm. So you'd want to water it. But this one is in the dark window, so I don't water it. Otherwise, it would stay damp for a while, and I don't want that. And I said that would be quick. Right, there's that one. This next one is my Spathiphyllum diamond, and this I've tried so hard to keep this one alive because this was the first houseplant that I moved in to this house with. It was the first thing in the living room, was just this plant on the windowsill in a different pot, but that's not important. He used to be massive. Then for some reason, for me, he died down a lot. I think, yeah, it dried out too quick. It was in a terracotta pot before. It dried out really, really badly because it was in a hot, sunny window. I've since moved it away from the hot, sunny window because it literally died down to here. Then we spent about half a year getting to this level, growing, making sure I've watered it, keeping it away from the window because I just want to keep it in bright, indirect light, but no direct sun. But now I think because we've let the house get quite cold, he's not enjoying it. So a lot of his leaves are yellowing on the ends, crisping. I don't know how well you can see that, but every single leaf is looking, like that. And it's really frustrating because once he starts to look good, I absolutely love it. And then he plays up or just doesn't like the ups and downs of the temperatures and light levels throughout the year. So I'm not considering getting rid of it, if you know what I mean. But I am, because, well, no, I'm not. I won't get rid of it. It's just I'll get to a point where I let it die, and I really don't want to get there. But how nice is that pot? So it looks like it's like still wet on the terracotta, but it doesn't have a hole in. Love that pot, and yeah, he's doing okay. I want him to do better because he's a special plant to me. But that is him. Spathiphyllum diamond. Got him for £8, really good price. That was in a garden centre that, I don't know, there was I got a friend discount, so £8, absolute bargain, because I see that people buy them online for like £20, and I was like, ooh. So I saved myself £12 technically, so I've got £12 to spend on another plant. Right, here are 2 more plants. This little guy is, again, he's another one of those that I showed you earlier. Don't know the exact, I don't know the plant name. I did at one point, but no. And I've had this one for quite a long time, actually. Probably, I want to say it's close to 5 years. And that sounds crazy because I literally remember so vividly when I got it. And that does not feel like 5 years ago, but it definitely is. And he's in this pot. This pot is actually a pot foot. Yeah. You can buy these giant pot feet. And I remember when I bought this with a carnivorous plant at the time, and the lady at the, what do we call them in England? The tills. I was about to say the checkout. We don't call it that. The lady at the tills, she was like, "Oh, I don't think you should plant that." It was a Nepenthes. She was like, "Oh, I think that pot's a bit too small for that Nepenthes." And I was like, "No, I'm buying it for a cactus," but I appreciate the concern. And he's done so well in there. He grows so much. The only thing I will say is this variety of cactus does get thrip damage. He's had thrips. Well, he had thrips once. I sprayed it a bit, but didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then ever since, I've never really looked to see whether it's got thrips. But that was literally 2 years ago, and I think he probably would have died if he still had thrips by now. But you can see he's got some nice green growth coming on. I've got a little. You can see some crystals in there just because they were cute. So that's that. He's a good plant. I like that one. Then I've got this very sad looking aloe. This is my partner's, it's not mine. Well, it was originally mine. I gave him a little cutting, and then this is what it is now. And he's got really green. He was very brown before, and I don't have the heart to give up on it. So this is what he looks like. Nothing spectacular. I think maybe next year I might plant it out with my other aloe in the garden because they actually survive quite well outside. I mean, I put it in the greenhouse over winter. I say survive quite well. I had a huge one a couple of years ago in the greenhouse. It died all the way back down to the soil because it got way too cold, and now it's only just grown back. So they can survive outside, but not well. Anyway, right, let's move on. I have one, two, three more, and then that's everything in the bedroom. Right, this is my Zami ZZ Raven, and he's looking quite sorry for himself. He's got like this dead frond there, and he's just not looking great. I divided this a long while ago. Gave half of it to my brother. I think my brother's half's actually doing better than this one, which I'm more than happy about. But I just need to repot it. I've got it in this plastic pot, which he's just not doing well in there. So I want to repot it into a terracotta pot so that I can give it a good water and know that it will dry out within a week, so that I actually water it more, because I'm not watering this often enough because it's in a plastic pot, and I think if I overdo it a little bit, it's just going to rot off and die anyway. So that's him. He's not doing awfully, but he's not doing good. I just need to change it up. I don't like the pot anymore. No, I like the pot, just not in this room, and I want him in a terracotta pot. But yeah, he's all right. He's old. Right, next up, I have my Hoya Carnosa Crimson Princess. He's doing well, but I'm actually just looking at him now, and he's very wrinkly. So I need to give it a good soak. But you see, there's a goldfinch in the top. Very cute. This one always does really good. The thing is, as well as this is one of those plants that I've found that I can kind of pause. So basically, if I don't water it for a really long time, it doesn't grow. And then if I water it, it grows like crazy. So I don't want it to grow like crazy, so I don't water it very often. And he's looking. I need to water it, but it's huge. And if you are interested at all, you can go back through my videos. And one of the first plant hauls I did, I think it was like a Summerhill come shop with me video, and I bought this there, and he was tiny. He was in a 12 centimeter pot, and he was pretty small. So you can go back and look at him compared to what he looks like now, and he is huge. Love that plant, a solid favorite of mine. Had it for a lot of years now, and yeah, love it. But yeah, need to water it a bit more often. It's just it being in this macrame hanger is really impractical to water, even though it does have a dish on the bottom. It's just really impractical. So I need to, every time I give it a good water, I bring it down, soak it in a pot of water, and then put it back up. But not the most practical way to keep it. But I keep this hung in the window, so it does really well. Loves it. I also have these really cute Tillandsia jellyfish that my brother got me for Christmas, and I love them. I think that's so cool. I'm worried that I'm going to kill them. I need to just make sure I water them, but how cool are they? Very good gift for someone that likes plants. And last but definitely not least is my huge Hoya uh, Hoya Polynura, the fishtail Hoya, the mermaid's tail. This is probably my prized possession in my plant collection. It is huge. I will say though, I feel like he's getting a bit temperamental in his old age, because over the past few weeks he has dropped a few of his top leaves, which is partly down to me not watering him enough. But I've done that a lot in the past, and he's not really reacted in that way before. So look at all the new leaves though. This is quite heavy as well now. He's still in a pretty small pot for the size of him. But one of my absolute solid favorites. I've said that about so many plants. Swap arms. But I've taken so many cuttings off of this as well. I think this is, when did I last cut that one? Yeah, that one has been cut there. So where else have I cut it? Well, to be fair, that stem actually has only been cut once. So the length of that stem, so all the way down, all the way to the top, that is probably about as long as it's grown. That makes no sense. I think what I'm trying to say is that I've cut back this plant maybe 10 times in its life, probably a little bit more than that. And that is the longest one. So I've probably cut that stem the least, is what I think I was trying to say. But yeah, my Hoya polyneura, incredible plant. It's very the growth is very one-sided, but that's just the growth habit that this plant has. And that's fine by me. I don't think I'd want it to be growing in every angle anyway, because it'd be like literally a bush. But look at that. If you don't have one of these, I reckon the only reason you don't have one is because they're never in garden centres, and people always sell cuttings of these for like £10 for 2 leaves. I don't do that. I've sold cuttings of this, but I don't sell them for that price. And I always root them first. I always sell them as like small plants. But incredible. Really happy with that guy. I'm going to pause here because this video is already like half an hour and I've only done half of my plant collection. This video is already nearly an hour and I've only done half my plant collection. Okay, I'll probably pause the video there actually, because my throat is starting to hurt as well. And it'll allow me to do a second video on the same topic. So that was my houseplant collection in my spare room, my bedroom, and my bathroom. And I'll figure out how many plants that is, but I've not counted. I've not counted in total, I've counted individually. Yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'm gonna figure out about filming the other half, but okay, this is gonna be part 1. So houseplant tour, kind of a tour. I'm bringing them to you more. I don't like showing details of inside my house. I feel like it's a bit intrusive. Personally, it feels a bit weird. I don't know why. It's probably not, but to me it feels a bit weird. Anyway, I don't know why I'm explaining that. But yeah, if you guys have the same plants as me, if you've got any plants that you think that I would really like, please let me know. I always love hearing recommendations. I love anything. Well, I like variegated plants quite a lot, and I've kind of been looking to get on the hunt for more variegated plants. Not for any particular reason, just they're cool. I don't know. Yeah, I'd love to hear about you guys' plants as well. Let me know what you think. If you've got any plant advice, care advice, let me know. But yeah, it's been quite fun looking at my plants actually, because I actually think I've been looking after them really well recently. It kind of ebbs and flows, my care for the plants. My attention to detail, I'll say. No, because to be honest, I pretty much get, well, over the past year, I've been spraying the plants pretty well. Well, I'll put them all in the bath, spray them down, dust them I dust them with the shower. I don't dust them by hand. Although some of my broadleaf plants, I do it by hand. So I've been spraying them pretty well. I've been treating them for pests. I've been preventatively treating them for pests. Because I bring in some new houseplants, I'll spray everything just to make sure that there's like the lowest chance possible for any pests to spread, which I highly recommend. It's one of those things that people talk about. They say it like, oh, I'll keep the plant in quarantine and stuff. And every time I ever heard anyone say that, I'd be like, oh, I'm never going to do that. I can't say I keep them in quarantine to that level, but I definitely spray them when I first get them now, just because when you've got a collection of plants that are not only huge and you've had them in your collection for a long time, but are worth a bit of money, it's really important. It gets more important to you to kind of make sure you take care of them. And you've put in a lot of time and effort to keep these alive and to get them this big, so it would be absolutely gutting to see it die. It's not going to die. I'd like to repot it maybe next year, though, into a bigger pot, something a bit more sustainable, because this is not the most practical way to keep it, and it makes it hard to maintain it. And I want these plants to be as easy to maintain as possible, because I know what I'm like, and if anything, no, I'm not going to say that. I was going to say if anything gets too hard, I'm not going to do it, but that's not true. Just statistically, the more convenient it is to maintain, the higher chance there is of it receiving proper maintenance. Okay, that was a lot of waffle. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys look out for episode 2, part 2. Please do subscribe and like if you like this video. I am determined. I'm not going to say it, actually. I'm not even going to say it because I say it every year and then I don't do it. But I really want to make at least, no, not at least. I'm aiming to make 1 video a week. No promises. Okay, right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please do leave any thoughts or advice or comments in the comment section, and I'll definitely get back to you. I appreciate you for watching. I'm just gonna leave it there. Right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.